We are the candidates. I might be a mayoral candidate, but it's your campaign, and you need to take charge. You need to take charge of the way Ann Kershaw did when she started phoning me and say, Bruce, are you going to tell people you're running, or are you not going to tell people? And then she got other people to phone me until they were phoning me. And then finally, I think it was a phone call from Barry Poole. He said, you know, Bruce, we didn't always agree on council, but when you were mayor, if you run for mayor again, I'll support you. In fact, I thought he was going to be a candidate, but somebody had a talk with him and said southern climes were better in the winter than sitting around council tables. That was taking charge. A little later, in the summer when I was starting to talk to people about it, whether I would or would not, a long-time resident of Sechelt, Sheila Page, who is a neighbor in Davis Bay, and well known for her volunteer work, also an elementary school teacher who we know from Sechelt Elementary and Halfmoon Bay Elementary, retired for at least 10 or 12 years now, came and talked to me in Davis Bay one day, and she said, Bruce, if you're running for mayor, I want to make a commitment to your campaign. I said, that's really good, Sheila. I appreciate your support, and as I always say, the most important commitment you can make is to vote. She said, no, I want to put some money. I have a commitment of $1,000 when you turn in your papers. And I went home, and I looked at Irene, who was standing over there, and I said, that's pretty serious. I think if we're going to get with those kind of commitments, I'm going to have to actually sit down and make a decision today. And I did make a decision, and that is pretty serious, because $1,000 is a lot of money for any of us. And it's even more retirement. So eventually I talked to Sheila about why, and it was about issues. It was about things I'd done when I was mayor. It was about the way we approached things. It was about specific issues with this council. She had all her good reasons, but it was a commitment that really moved me a little further. About 3 weeks later, I got a phone call from Betty Ann Papp, who's sitting here with her husband Sandor. And Betty Ann said, Bruce, we hear you're thinking about it. We don't know if you are or not. We want to come over so we can talk to you about it. And she came over, and Betty Ann did 2 things in that 3-hour conversation. She talked and showed me I'm going to say. She wrote a check. It was the first check in this campaign. She also got a donation from a cash donation of $20 from somebody she saw on the street, which was our first cash donation. And phoned the finance agent and say, Jan, we better open an account. We actually have a chance to get those checks. I'm really humbled, and I'm in fact really afraid. Take control of the campaign. You're going to have to talk to your friends. You're going to have to talk to strangers. You're going to have to put out signs. One of the signs you can put out is a bumper sticker by the guy who's sitting in the front row here. You might have seen. I think he's best known for the Sechelt Coalition, the Sechelt Sewer Coalition, but he also runs a small business around town where something to do with roofs and contract. George is contracting. George is a thorn in this regime's side. He has bumper stickers if you talk to him that say, flush the John November 15th. So, if you want to know where they are. He also took control of this meeting, and this morning he printed 500 leaflets advertising this event, passed them out and put them on cars, took them up and down the businesses on Cowrie Street, and let everyone know this event was on tonight. He's got lots of other ideas, and I said, that's good, you can run your own campaign. Write letters, phone voters, hand out brochures. Lots of the candidates tonight will have brochures. Take some if they have them. Writing letters is really important. We know from the campaign that Fabs did last time that they have an organized letter writing campaign. This is the way that provincial parties work, and we know that. I'm not going to write letters for supporters, but I do want supporters that are here and throughout the campaign to think immediately, if you don't write the letter, nobody else will. So correct the facts if the facts are wrong. Show us who you support, and it doesn't have to be me, it can be anyone. Just make sure you write the letters and take control of what the community discussion really is. Invite candidates to social events. I'm glad to say that I've got Costco COSCO, the Coast Organization of Seniors, organized and phoned me last week so I can come and see them tomorrow. I've had 2 phone calls from different supporters that want to invite me over to meet their friends and neighbors. And it doesn't matter if there's 4 or 5 people, or 20 or 25 or 30. I'm happy to meet with them. The only way we'll win this campaign is people can talk to the candidates, myself and the council candidates, hear what we say, make the assessment about values and integrity. You need to let them meet the candidates so you can make that eyeball to eyeball, handshake to handshake determination of who has integrity and who will follow through on what they're saying. As much as it's about a community, money does matter. We know from the last campaign that money can be used to buy advertising, and it will be, and radio ads, and it makes a difference. In 2011, this gentleman spent $18,000 on the campaign. Most of it was from his own pocket. The one $500 donation was from the current Chief of Innovation and Growth, the top job in the district of Sechelt. This organization, and I want to talk about VABS later because I think the momentum for a better Sechelt is absolutely well placed. Everyone I know in 2011 wanted a better Sechelt. So nothing to do with the campaign for a better Sechelt. They spent $44,000 primarily directed at changing the council. Those 2 campaigns alone spent $62,000 in the last election in 2011. And as my last slide says, if you can see it, that 2 campaigns, that $62,000 was more than all of the candidates, mayor, council, mayor, and council, and mayor, and council for the decade before. 3 elections. I went back to Cameron Reid's first election in 2002 because I knew that what I'd spent in the 2 before that, and I started adding them up. And I was hoping I'd get back into my election, but I didn't. I got through a decade, and that's when it matched this amount. 3 decades. It caught us by surprise. Nobody had any idea that this was going to happen. That changed the game. This 2014 election, we can expect money to be spent because there are people who benefit from the current council being in office. They'll spend money to do it. If money matters, people matter more. And I want you to know that and believe it. Your votes and the votes of your neighbors and your votes of people you talk to matter far more than all the advertising dollars that can be spent. And if people matter, community matters most of all. This election will be won by the community. And it will be the community saying, we wanted a better Sechelt. We really did. But we didn't get what we were really looking for. So let's get a better Sechelt in 2014. Before I go on, I want to talk about this poster. This poster that we see in the front and the back and on the top left of this corner. The gentleman to my right is an internationally known print artist. He taught at University of Southern California, University of California, Los Angeles, taught at Emily School College of Art for many years, taught at Cranbrook School of Art, which is on the eastern seaboard, retired up to Half Moon Bay first and then Sechelt. He has a real bug about this council, and you might have had emails from him. And I said, Bob, I know that you send a lot of emails and you've got a lot of rants and you have this and this going on, but I know that you're one of the most accomplished artists that's sitting here. And I've been in this room about 3 years ago, before the Sechelt Arts Advisory Committee was disbanded by the Henderson regime. And he was telling a story about a print he made when he was a teacher in UCLA in 1965. And he had made this print and he put it up around campus for this anti-war event. And a general was coming to speak. And he'd made about 25 of these. He had numbered them. He knew exactly where they were. When the event was over and he went to get them, they were all gone. And people had been stealing them. And his students had been stealing them. And that's when he knew maybe he was in the right profession. And I hadn't met Bob. I'd watched him speak. I'm the president of the Arts Council, so I know what's going on in the arts community, but I'd never met Bob. And in late August, I asked him to meet me at Wheatberries, and we sat down for a cup of coffee, and I said, Bob, I know you have a thing about this regime, and I know you've got a real rant, but I want to see, I'd like you to design a poster for the community that people would steal. Design a poster that people would steal. It doesn't have to be for me, it doesn't have to have my name on it. It has to say something that will make a mark in this campaign. And I talked to him about some ideas, I showed him what I was doing. He went back, he sent a few things back and forth. The notion of Sechelt for All came in part from Bob's wife, Anne. It had been raised in my household by Irene. Darren told me about the same week that it had been discussed with his wife and people he knows. And Sechelt for All, if it's coming from several sources, so we thought, well, that's probably the one to go for, as people are mentioning it, even independently. So Bob worked with that, and he took the rest. And I don't know if you can see it clearly, I have a bigger slide at the very end. Just in front of the sun. The sun is because we get the most sunshine on the Sunshine Coast, and we get that climate because of the mountains that are right in front of it, which are Mount Arrowsmith. And if you look at that closely, it's exactly the shape of Mount Arrowsmith from Davis Bay. That's a replica of what we see. He's got blue, and then a dark band where the Sechelt is, and then more blue because we're the land between two waters. He has the darkness going towards the light, and the heron coming through towards change, and he's got a pretty powerful wind that's going to sweep a lot of things away. So. Now, this doesn't have any names on it. It doesn't belong to any candidates. It belongs to you. We have about 100 of those posters on 11 by 17 that you can take tonight. You don't have to steal, but you've got two choices. You can take it, make sure it goes into a visible place. You know, on your car, close to your home, maybe a telephone pole, but somewhere where you know people will see it or where you think the message is good. We don't want you to take it home and squirrel it away and hide it in your bedroom, unless you're under 40 and you have a very active bedroom. Take it to a place where people will see it. And if you want Bob to sign it, we're going to have a hat, probably this one down on the table, and throw a coin or a dollar or a donation or whatever, and we'll print more posters when the night's over. It's the only time we're going to let you do an anonymous donation, because if you make other donations, we want your name on the envelope, whether it's cash or not, we need to know who it is. But you are allowed to have anonymous donations, and if you do, they're going to go into posters and this campaign. So Bob will be somewhere at one of these tables with a stack of these, and I'm glad to hand them out. If you've got room for a donation, throw it in this hat, and we'll use it for... So final remarks, I'm sorry it's taking much longer than I expected. I thought I'd be out of here at 7:30. Good government means including the entire community in decisions which affect them. This is where I do a speech with when I was a real politician, and I would do something with rhetoric, with changes that said, yes we can, or if I was really brave, I'd start with Martin Luther and say, I have a dream for Sechelt, a dream that Sechelt is free. And I thought about those things, and then I even went back to the first really powerful contemporary political speech in modern times, which was written by Shakespeare in Julius Caesar, Act 3, Scene 2, when Mark Antony comes out and says, friends, neighbors, citizens, I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. You too, Bruce. And I'd say, damn right, Johnny boy, Johnny. I could do a stump speech, or I could do a political rabble-rousing speech. I just want to tell you what we're going to do. We're going to have an open and transparent government after the November. We're going to have an open and transparent government after the November elections. We can do it. First, step one, council decisions are made in public. Full public access to all reports and planning documents. Step 3, full disclosure of expenses charged to the public purse. We have seen the official expense accounts. We know there's money being spent for receptions, for travel, for lunches, for business attraction, for trips to Calgary. We actually don't know what the full public expenditures for the 6 councillors and mayor and the Chief of Administration and Innovation and Growth are. I thought the caviar was free. Step 4, consult and engage the public before decisions are made. This is really easy. Manage government spending and live within our means. Step 1, we simply stop all of those budget items that I listed out, including the pre-election spending. We won't have to do that for 4 years, right? Stop the spend and borrow, borrow and spend and borrow, borrow and spend, borrow and spend. We can build a strong economy that works for everybody and not just a few. And don't think for a minute that this economy in the last 3 years hasn't provided great benefits for some people. There have been rezonings gone through, there have been contracts gone through that have made some people a very large amount of money. They like it. So what do? We build on our strengths, and our strengths are pretty obvious. This is an absolutely great place to live. It's a great place to live for families, it's a great place to live for retirees. Let's get over the fact that people want to move here and make sure that it is a place for people who want to retire. If you're 55 or 60 and you want to come to Sechelt, what you really want is infrastructure in place for when you're 85 and 90. We need to ask Arthur Whistler what he wants today, as he turned 90 this year, and say, and we want to make sure it's in place when the newcomers are 90. We've got a 30-year time to build for retirement. It's going to come, we can do it in a really good way. If we do that right, we'll need infrastructure, health facilities, education facilities, good paying jobs for families to come and work in those professions. We won't be fishing and logging, but there's an entirely new economy turning around right in front of us, and we can take advantage of that. It's a strong tourism. The same things that attract people to live here, attract people to stay and visit. It's a quality of life. It's our connection to the natural environment. We can build on that. Let's not be afraid of the fact that we've got a huge bed and breakfast industry. We've got a great place to live. We have hotels that finally want to come here. I want to go back to creative cultural community. I think we're all still looking for a better Sechelt. That was the momentum in 2011. So if you're still yearning for a better Sechelt, let's just do it and bring a better Sechelt. We thought we're coming, and it's not very difficult. You'll see this on ads in the paper this weekend, and you'll have a website you can go to and an email. And councillors, what do you have?
Well, Mr. Milne, perhaps I should be addressing you as future Mayor Milne. It's got a nice ring to it. You were briefly talking on the airport. I'm just wondering if I can have your assurance that you won't spend one more dime until we secure an airline carrier that commits to coming here. Let them tell us what they need, come back to us taxpayers for the price.
I wasn't going to take questions tonight because it's already 10 to 8, but just so you know, I think the market should lead major developments. So when the market's ready and wants to do things, the infrastructure will be there and council will be behind private initiative. I think that answers your question. We won't be spending money to generate a market that isn't there. We will listen to the market, we'll let the aviation industry tell us So thank you for being here. Thank you and good night. Those who are young and able can help us put chairs away later or